What's happening, people? I'm DJ Graish, and in tonight's live stream I'm going to teach you how to make liquid drum and bass. And it's been a while. Welcome back. It's been about 2 months since I did a live stream. Hope you've all had an amazing summer. I have. And it's finally cool enough in this room to be able to do the live stream again. It's been like a sauna in here. So let me know if you can hear the music. Let me know if you can hear the microphone. Big up Misty. Big up DJ Fully Loaded in the chat. I want to give a special shout out to the Graish Nation members. Thank you to everyone who supports this channel. And I did recently launch a Patreon as well, where I'm going to be putting up the project folders for all of the tunes that I make in these tutorials. So when I make this tune today, once it's finished, I will put the project folder on Patreon as well. So if you want to sign up to that, it's patreon.com/Graish. Thank you, DJ Fully Loaded. I'm glad that you can hear me properly. So my brother DJ Fully Loaded has just finished his latest mix, which is going to be broadcast on his channel. And after this live stream, I'm going to be over there in the chat, and we can all go over there and listen to his new mix together. So he's Fully Loaded on YouTube. In a couple of minutes we're going to get started with a brand new tune, and I'm going to teach you how to build a liquid drum and bass tune from start to finish. If you're interested in learning how to use Ableton Live and how to produce music with it, subscribe to this channel because there's loads of tutorials on here, and I've got some new ones planned as well. Hello Kaylee, thanks for joining. Couple more minutes and then we'll get started. So I'm going to be using this keyboard today. You won't be able to see it once it's all plugged in and I'm using it on the desk and that, but just so you know, I'll be using this keyboard, so I'm about to plug that in. Alright, let's leave it there. So that one's called Solstice. Well, that's a working title because I used the Solstice sample pack to make it. And there is actually a tutorial for that one. So it's the last liquid drum and bass tune that was uploaded to this channel. Gonna hit don't save on that. And it's been a while since I did a live stream, so big up Jason Story, and as I was saying, big up all of the Graish Nation members. sticking around and supporting this channel. I really appreciate you guys. So I was just saying, I've plugged in a MIDI keyboard, and I'm going to teach you how to make a liquid drum and bass tune from start to finish. And pretty much the first thing I'm going to do is play this keyboard and try to come up with some sort of a chord structure. So first thing I'm going to add is just add like a piano or maybe a Rhodes. So I'll get Contact and just drag that onto one of these MIDI tracks. And you've probably seen this before. I like to use this Scarby Mark 1 and then you've got all the different presets. Shout out Andrea Paro. Alright, so this is what the Scarby Mark 1 looks like. Hopefully you'll be able to hear it when I play it on this keyboard. Amazing. And this keyboard's lost one of its little feet, so it's kind of wobbly. But I'm just going to stick something underneath one of the corners to stop it wobbling so much. So this is how it goes live, you know. Sometimes there's little teething problems, but that's a bit better. Alright, so this is the Scarby Mark 1. And basically the idea is to come up with some sort of a chord structure and then add the bass and add the drums and everything, but it all sort of revolves around these chords. So what I was thinking of doing is just like getting a 4-bar loop going. So first of all, I'm going to put this to an appropriate BPM, so I'll just put 174 and then zoom in here a bit and then just loop 4 bars, and I'll turn on the metronome. Actually, I'll do 8 bars and I'm just going to hit record. Something like that, you know. So I'll just loop that bit there. Alright, don't forget to hit the loop button. And then I'm going to add another instrument here. So let's just add another Contact 7. Maybe a different Scarby preset, so On the Road, for example. Maybe 1 octave down. Alright. Now I'm sorry for the metronome because I know it does sound annoying, but I need it for the time being. Alright, let me do that again. All right. I just got one of the notes wrong, but instead of re-recording it, I'm just going to literally grab that note and move it up like that. So basically what I've done so far is just got a couple of Rhodes pianos and played them, and the idea is to start with the chords and then play a little bit of a melody, play a bit of a bass line, and eventually do the drums. And that was supposed to be. probably easier to just record it again. Let's go. Alright, so there was one little blip there that wasn't supposed to be there, but other than that it was alright. Alright, so I'm gonna grab a synth and do a bass line. So what should I do? You can tell I haven't done this for a while. How about Vital? I'll just grab Vital, put that in there. And you can see that it starts off with a sawtooth, but I'm not really up for a sawtooth. I want a sine wave. Alright, so it's got a little bit of a click at the beginning, so I'm just going to turn up the envelope a bit. Alright, I'll record this. So this is the way how you do it with a keyboard, and this is, to be honest with you, it's not the way I usually work. Some people like to use a MIDI keyboard, so I just thought I'd show you this way. Now obviously that's just a pure sine wave, so it's sounding very basic and stuff. So what we can do is add some effects to it. So I'm going to start off with the saturator. So I'll turn up the drive, turn down the output. Alright, that's enough of the metronome now. Alright, so before we go any further, I think it's time for us to add some drums. So I'm just going to go into my samples here and have a look for a good kick. So here's a kick. Let's go through some of these. Just go with kick 12. Let's have a look for a snare. Maybe 10. So I'm going to put the snare on beats 2 and 4. So you see how you've got, it goes from 9 to 10 and you've got 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put it on the 2 and then hold down Alt and put it on the 4. Then with the kick, it's on the 1 and then I'm going to put it on this other one which is halfway between the 3 and the 4, which is there. Alright, and I'm just going to grab all of this, which is 1 bar, and since our pattern is actually 8 bars long, I'm just going to duplicate it a load of times so it does the whole 8 bars, and now it sounds like this. Alright, so on second thoughts, maybe the snare's a bit crap, so I'm just going to delete that and choose a different one. Alright, so this is what it goes like when you're doing it live. So I'm just going to select that bar, duplicate it a load of times. Now it sounds like this. And maybe that's a bit loud compared to the rest of the instruments. Alright, so in these Ghost Syndicate samples, there are also some drum loops that I could use. For example, let's go into drums. Go into drum loops, and then you've got the different categories like top, which is just the top end. You've got some that are just the hats, and then you've also got some full ones, which is a full-on drum loop. So what you can actually do is play your tune, and then it will actually beat match these loops to the stuff you're playing already. So for example, if I wanted to just solo the kick and the snare like this, and then press this hat loop, that's the amazing thing about Ableton. Even when you're just auditioning samples, it will beat match them to the project, so you hear how they're really going to sound. That's pretty good. It's not my usual style, so I'll put that in and just switch it up a bit. So I'm just going to put that there. And then perhaps it's a good idea to get rid of some of the low end out of it. So let's go to Audio Effects and grab the EQ8 and put that on there. And then I'm just going to roll off a load of the bass and mid and just leave the top. So we've got the kick, the snare, and the hi-hat loop. I'm just going to group them together and call it drums. So here's the kick, snare, and hats. Now the Vital synth is actually possibly an octave too high. And a good way to check that is if you get your Spectrum analyzer, it's just called Spectrum inside the Audio Effects. You can put that onto the master and then just play your sound. And let's have a look where it is. So as I was saying before, it's an octave too high and it's starting at 73 Hertz and it needs to be lower than that. So all you need to do is double click into the MIDI clip and then select all the notes. So you can just select one and then press Command and A to select everything. Then press Shift and down and now play it. And you'll hear that it's actually sounding like a decent bass now. And how is that sounding with everything else? Alright, so you know what? I've had enough of this keyboard because it's right in the way, so I'm going to unplug that and get it out of here. I'm just going to work with the mouse and keyboard from now on. How's everyone doing? Have you had a good week? Have you had a good summer? It's been ages since I've seen you. It's going to be a bit easier for me to work now because that keyboard was just right in the way, and with the mic being right here as well, it was all just a bit of a mess. So we're going to call this Rhodes 1. And then you can just hit tab And it literally takes you down to the next track, so you can go Rhodes 2, and then you can just call this sub bass. And then I wanted to do something else on the sub bass. Mark Pearson, aka Fully Loaded, is saying it's brass over here. To be honest with you, it's still quite warm here. I was out and about in a t-shirt before, but I kind of wish it was a bit cooler, because in this room it is still pretty unbearably hot after the AC's been off for a while. Shout out Beastie Noobs. I'm alright. Shout out Smee. Just bear with me a second. What I wanted to do, I was going to put the auto filter on and then show you a little trick with the LFO. So what you do is basically, you see how I've got the Vital Synth and I've put some saturator on, which is obviously giving it some harmonics. And if we have a look through the spectrum analyzer, you'll see what I mean. So you've got the main sub note right down here, but then you've got all these harmonics going on into the mids, right? And one little trick we can do is we can wobble those mids. And the way how you do it is you get your auto filter and you bring this frequency down like this, and then you put your LFO, and it's kind of changed because this is a kind of a redesign of the auto filter, but you can put it onto 16ths and then choose like either 2 or 4 16ths and turn up this LFO amount. And now it sounds like this. Now that was obviously an extreme example, but what you do is you put your LFO amount onto something really small like 2%. Now listen to it. And it even shows you on a little graphic how much it's actually wobbling it, and it's just a very small amount. And if you like, instead of 2 16ths, you can do 4 16ths. Again, if I turn it up, it's kind of a more extreme example of what it's really doing. But if I turn it right down to around 2% or maybe even slightly less, it just makes a subtle wobble and gives it some movement on that sub bass. Alright, so another thing for the guys who are beginners at making drum and bass, another thing that makes your drums sound amazing or makes them sound very authentically DNB is to add a breakbeat. So I'm going to go into my samples here, and I've got this folder called All CD Quality Famous Breaks, and if we get the Amen break, I'm sure you must have heard this sound before. So if you bring in that, and then what you can do is just layer it very subtly. But first, I'm going to take, there's this one slice here which is like the double kick, and what I'm going to do is just replace that with a normal kick. So I'm just going to copy that bit, paste it there. Now it sounds like this. Now obviously, because it's faster, it probably should be a little bit more high pitch. So I'm just going to pitch it up by 3 semitones and it'll sound like this. And let's play that with the rest of the drums. In fact, I'm going to put that into the drums group here. And let's play them all together. And maybe this needs to be turned down a bit too. Another thing you can do is you can do this cheeky technique where you shorten the hits a little bit. So down here in the warp modes, you can put this to beats, and then there's these arrows here, and you can just put that onto the first one, which is a right arrow pointing at a line. All right, and then listen what happens to the Amen break when I turn down the percentage. So if you put it down below 50, it's sort of like 40 or something, and then play all the drums together. what it gives you is a bit of an essence of the amen break, but without it being too intrusive. And I'm just going to get the EQ8 and take out the bottom end of the amen break. Now I'm having second thoughts about these hi-hats. But first let me just paste the amen break a load of times, so we've got 8 bars of it. Right, I'm going back to the hi-hat section and see if I can find some better ones. Shout out Tito Odong in the chat. Alright, I'm going to put that one there. There's something I don't like about these Rhodes. And I suppose this is just realistic, you know. Every time you make a tune, you're going to make some instruments and elements that you do like and other ones that you don't like, and then you just have to be a bit brutal when it comes to deciding what to delete and redo and all the rest of it. I do like the lower Rhodes, these chords. So let's try and add some extra notes to make them a bit more jazzy. So what we've got so far is... So maybe here. And here. What I'll do is I'll put these ones at a lower velocity for the people who don't know. When you hit the keys of a keyboard, you can hit them gently or harder, right? And that's represented digitally as this velocity scale, which means if you move this down, it's like pressing the keys softer. So for these extra notes that I'm adding in, I want them to be just kind of overtones, so I'll add them in with soft velocities. And maybe one more. Again, just going to drag the velocities down. So I've just turned down that amen break a bit. So one thing that's good to add is a pad. So I'm just going to go into my production folder, which is where I keep all my samples. And let's go into this Echoes of Light. And this one's an amazing sample pack by 2 YouTube producers called Groovin' in G and Human Synthetics. The 2 of them collaborated and put out this sample pack, which includes some amazing pads. So big up to them too, and let's have a listen to some of these. To be honest, I think it's the first one I clicked on that was the one that sounded the best. Shout out Rabbit. I want to big up everyone in the chat. DJ Fully Loaded, Misty, Kaylee, Jason Story, Andrea, Beastie Noobs, Smee, Tito Dong, and Rabbit. And if you're watching and you're not in the chat, feel free to jump in and say hello. And also, please make sure you click the like button so that this stream will be spread to more budding producers. So we've got this deep space chord pad playing 2 different notes. Basically the first one was the root note, which was a D minor, and then I've pitched it up by 5 semitones for the second bit. And now I'm going to put some effects on it. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put the reverb onto Send A. So I'm going to delete the reverb that's on there and I'm going to use the hybrid reverb instead. Shout out Ragaman TV as well. So I'm going to put the dry and wet up to 100%. I'm going to put the decay time to around 2.5 seconds. What kind of reverb should this one be then? How about a hall reverb? And then long synth hall. And I'm just going to send the pad to it. Also going to put some delay on there. I'm also going to try out a bit of chorus on it. So what I'm going to do with these chords is I'm going to like grab each note and then hold down command and just drag each note sideways so that it makes it so they're not all hitting at the same exact time. Just very subtly. I'll do the same with these ones. Maybe these bottom ones should have a little bit more velocity. And obviously this is something else that could be sent to that room reverb. And it also could have some EQ and some different stuff on it. Try the delay. Maybe the delay on this one should be shorter, like. So anyway, if you like the sound of that pad, check out the Echoes of Light sample pack from Groovin' in G and Human Synthetics. You can find it if you literally just Google Echoes of Light sample pack, Groovin' in G. The Rhodes piano I'm using comes from Contact. It's called the Scarby Mark 1. Sub bass is from Vital. Feel free to get Vital, it's a free synth. Alright, and let's try adding something else. And what you can do is, if you just go into Instruments and then Instrument Rack, and then you can just click these and then press your down arrow to go through them. Sometimes that's a good way to get inspired and see if any of them take your fancy. Like Basic Bright Marimba could be used. Alright, so let me just loop Rhodes 2 and the pad. You hear how I just took the basic bright marimba and all I've done is turned up the send A to send it to hybrid reverb, and listen now how it sounds. Kind of feel like doing this really sparse melody. Right. I'll just draw these in, you know. So one good thing to do is just press where you think you're going to need the note. So as you can see, it's right there in the middle. Zoom in by grabbing this little side bit here and then dragging sideways. You see much more of an appropriate area of the piano roll, you know. Bear with me. Alright, let's hear it with the drums. Right, I'll stick on the delay. And one thing I like to do is just mess with... You see how on the delay you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 16, right? These are all the different set timings. And obviously you can just put this onto... You can turn off sync and just put it to any timing you want with the milliseconds. But one thing I like to do is just go through these different timings and see how it sounds with each one. So first of all, we've got the 1. 2. 'Obviously, with 4 it's a classic. 5 and 6 are usually a bit more abstract. See, sometimes it just makes a whole new pattern that you were never expecting, and it can actually just be the hook of the tune. Just comes from that timing of the delay and how it's a bit weird and unorthodox. So we've got it on 6. Have a listen to this. And then you can try ping pong. You can try it with more feedback. Alright, bring that beat back. And what you can do is, if you're not sure, one thing you can do is just turn down the dry and wet. Absolutely love it when that happens. You know, on the delay when you change the different settings and it just does some mad random sound. In fact, on one tune I automated that and then used the random sound. What I meant is this. Listen what happens when you change... when I change it to 16. Sick. So if you're ever stuck for creative ideas, put the delay on to your melody and then mess about changing the timing. And one thing you could do is resample it or record the automation. Alright, for the people who've just joined us, what we've done so far is I made a couple of different Rhodes pianos using Contact. I used the Vital Synth to make a sub bass. I used the Echoes of Light sample pack to bring in this deep space chord, which is the pad. And I've used basic bright marimba, which is an instrument that comes with Ableton Live. Make this little melody. I also use some Ghost Syndicate samples for the drums, which is this kick, snare, and hi-hat loop. So the kicks sound like this. The snare sounds like this. We've got this hi-hat. And the amen break. The amen is layered in there quietly, but when you play all the drums together, it is adding something. So why not start doing some processing on these drums? So I'll add the glue compressor and then just gradually bring down the threshold until the needle starts moving a bit. And basically I'm giving it around 1.5 dB of gain reduction. The next thing I'm going to add is the drum bus. And I usually like to turn down this trim control first of all. Then maybe turn up the drive a little bit. Be very careful with the dampener. Sometimes it's good to dampen the top end, but you want to do it like consciously. I also usually like to bring in this tape saturator. Put that on there. Crank up the input, crank down the output, and it sounds like this. Alright, let me do a little before and after of the drums. And one thing I will say is it's always good to do a before and after with any effects you put on stuff. Especially this kind of effects where you're sort of adding saturation and all sorts of distortion. So here's the drums, and also we're going to pay attention to the peak meter here. So the drums are peaking. If we turn this off, the drums are peaking at -3. Turn it on, they're peaking at -11. So quite a ways to go in terms of getting them just as loud. If I really want to put it back to -3. What you can do is just do it by ear. Try and get them sounding the right volume compared to everything else. And what you've done is you've ended up gaining a load of headroom, which is going to make your tune louder in the end. Alright, with and without. Here's without. Here's with. Kick sounding quite saturated. Maybe it's best to turn it back down a little bit. It's definitely controlling the high end a lot, but maybe the high end was way too much in the first place, so it's a good thing. Right now, we've got the peak at -3 without all this. Turn it on. -7. And all we're really doing is taming a bit of that high end, but in general, they're sounding roughly the same volume. Perceived loudness. Did any of you guys see my latest video? It was another Ableton Live 1.0 video. So some of you will know that I did one back in the day, well, in April, about 6 months ago. And it did really well on my channel. So in that one, I was just saying it was only designed for making, for doing live sets, you know, which was a bit of a cop-out because I knew that I could make a tune in it if I wanted to. So this time I decided to set myself the challenge of making a tune in Ableton Live 1.0. There's no MIDI tracks, you know, there's no export. It's missing a lot of key features. So no VST instruments at all, but you can have VST effects. So in the video I added a little VST effect and I was able to make a tune. So check out that video if you've not seen it yet. And what was I about to do with this tune? Alright, so I've took it a little bit too far with this drums thing. I do like it when it tames the high end a bit though. Alright, let me group these. So, I'm going to put the sub bass over here. I'm going to put it in its own little group. And I'm going to call the group bass. And I'm going to put all these other things into another group called instruments. Alright? Instrum. So what time is it? Coming up to 9 o'clock. I'm going to be here till 10. I'm going to be here for another hour. And then what I was saying before is my brother DJ Fully Loaded has uploaded a new mix, which is going live at 8 o'clock. 10 o'clock Spanish time. And that's 9 o'clock UK time. And I was saying at that time we should all, I'll log off here and we should all go on his channel and listen to his new mix. So this is what we got so far. What I'm going to do is delete these 3 notes. And if I want them, I'll have them on a different channel. Alright, so 808 basses. Basically, it's a short bass sound which comes from a drum machine called the Roland TR-808. And the way how you do them is you get yourself a simpler, which for the people that don't know, the simpler is one of Ableton Live's samplers, and it's the simple one, hence the name. So what you can do is just type 808 into the search bar, and if you've got any 808 samples, they will appear. Drag your sample into the sampler, and then it looks like this. So this is what an 808 looks like. It's basically a kick which is mainly a sine wave, and then it drops in amplitude, meaning it just gets quieter. Alright, so it sounds like this. That's a very high pitch 808. If I put the keyboard down, so this is what an 808 sounds like at its appropriate pitch. It's just like a short subby sound. And what I'm going to do for now is maybe just mute the sub bass, make a new MIDI clip. So to create a MIDI clip in Ableton Live, what you do is highlight a section like that, and then go Shift, Command and M, and then the MIDI clip appears. Alright, and then you can double click into it and you'll see this section down here with the piano roll. And what I like to do is drag this up so that it's basically taking up the whole screen. And then another thing I like to do is tune my 808 so that the notes are correct. For example, what I need to do is put this to a certain pitch, and then using the guitar tuner of Ableton Live, you can double check to make sure it really is in the right pitch. So if you just press a C on there, you'll see it's a C. Alright. So now, when I go into this piano roll, and let's say I'm looking for a D, there's the D, there's the A sharp, you know, and it's playing the actual correct notes. Maybe it should go doom 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 doom. Let's see how this goes. You know. And this one needs turning up a bit so I can actually hear what it's doing. Alright, I never intended for any of this to happen, but this is just how it's turning out. And to be honest with you, this is how it goes, you know, when you're making tunes, you just go where it takes you. Timing's a bit weird there, but it goes. Alright, how about a auto-filtered section of the beat for the intro? So what you do is, now that I've put all my drums into a group, it's really easy to just get the bandpass filter on there, and then it sounds like this. So if you guys have ever heard that sound before, what it is, it's just a bandpass moving up and down. And then obviously when the time is right, you can just turn it off. You get the full drums coming through. So we're coming up to that time where I should start to think about the arrangement, but you know what I should do before any of that? I should actually press save. So I'm just going to call this, what's a good name? What do you guys suggest that I should call this tune? How about, someone said welcome back. Maybe I could just call it Back at It. Back at It. Twilight. It's got a kind of a twinkling. Alright, Twilight. Twilight, alright? Towards the top. If you look at the spectrum analyzer, then obviously these, needless to say, these 808 hits are going like way out of the sub bass region and into just general, you know, lower mids area, but they're just a little feature. That one goes high enough, and then it goes even higher. Watch. We go as high as 195 hertz. That's the way it goes, you know. Well, at least the wax speaker crew will be able to hear it. Alright, so I do quite like them pure sound, pure sub bass, but perhaps I could try the saturator. Oops, sorry. Hey, but you know something? The saturator just revealed something, that one of the notes is wrong and I couldn't hear it. It's this one. No, it's that one. So do you remember before I was talking about the Echoes of Light sample pack? So far, all we've used is a pad from there, but there's loads of other stuff as well. So we've got sound effects and one-shots. Rip into fabric. So let's have a look at some of these other areas. Atmos, textures, and ambience. Alright, so I'm going to put this white noise riser in and then I'm just going to reverse it. And it sounds like this. Wait. And it sounds like this. Alright, so do you remember I put the reverb on send A? So if I just turn up send A. I'm also going to go into my packs here and just go into the drums and grab a drum kit. For example, any, damp snare stick. It doesn't matter what the snare sounds like. Why? Because we're actually just going to grab a crash. So let me just highlight a section here, Shift Command and M to make a MIDI clip, and then I'll go listening to the crashes within here. Terrible. Right, so these are the ones I'm on about. Do you remember before I was going on about velocities and how it's like how hard you hit the piano? Well, you've got these the velocities work on drums as well, especially on this crash. Listen to the difference, right? If I put it up to the top, that's like hitting the crash hard, and then if I put it down here, barely audible. And what you can do is, if you want it like a softer one, you can just turn up the volume. Or if you want a really hard crash, but it's way too loud, well, obviously you could turn down the volume. Press save there. So what I'm going to do now is just grab everything. Actually, first, see that bit that's sticking out? That's annoying me. I'm just going to drag that back like that. Now, I'm going to highlight everything. I'm just going to close a couple of these tracks so that it all fits on the screen. Right. Everything highlighted. Command and X to cut it. And then I'm just going to paste it at bar 33. Now, that's basically where the drop's going to be. And now we have this 32 bar section before it, where I'll be able to build up the intro. So inside this, I'm going to duplicate this drum kit. One of them is going to be called Crash. And then the one I've just duplicated and just created, I'm going to call that Rides. Now, inside, I'm just going to give it a different color. Inside this MIDI clip, I'll delete the Crash. I'll delete this MIDI note that's on the Crash. And instead, we'll have a look at the ride cymbals. And again, you do have the different velocities. So if you like the sound of it, but it's a bit hard, you can turn it down like this. Alright, and then you can choose the interval. Right, wait, let me put this to the beginning. So for example, you can have it like that. You can select them all and then turn the velocity up or down. And you can even do this. You can do a load of ones that are a lower velocity. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. Wait. Right, so you've got the 4 there, but only the first one is louder, and then these 3 are quieter. Right, and then I'll just duplicate that loads of times. So now it's got this ding, 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 ding. And if I just mute the pad, I don't know if you can hear that. Sounds like this. Alright. So that's a ride cymbal. I'm just putting the EQ8 on it. Getting rid of everything below about 3K. Do you remember I was saying before about the filtered drums? So what I'm going to do is copy the drums and paste them here. But the auto filter. So let me show you something. If you want this auto filter to be on during the intro but to be off during the drop, what you need to do is to use some automation. So to do that, you press the A key to get into automation mode, then you just press the on-off button of the auto filter. So we want it to be device, well, mainly we want the auto filter to be off, right? Because for the majority of the tune it's going to be off. But during this section of the intro, we do want it to be on. So then you get this pencil tool, and then you just turn it on like that. So this red line goes up during that section, and then it goes down and it's off again. All right, so just during this little section here, the auto filter will be on. So now the drums are going to sound like this. Now we're going to need to do some more automation. So click on filter frequency, and you can see now the red line represents frequency. It says it there. And you can make the red line go up and down again. You can also turn up the resonance it will make this auto filter effect a bit more prominent. And with this filter frequency, we might want it to be, in general, a bit higher. So it goes down, it goes back up again. Then it goes down. And then finally, it goes right up. Alright, and then the white noise comes in. We're going to want to include that. In fact, that ride should be in there with the drums. And the crash should also be inside the drums group. So if you've learned anything so far from this video, make sure you click the like button. And if you like my tutorials and you've learned anything, then I would also recommend subscribing, because there's a million tutorials on this channel, and I'm also working on some new ones. So we start off with the ride cymbal and the pad. And it's a very chilled out intro. After 16 bars, and I do want the pad to continue. And I guess this is where the Rhodes is going to come in. And also the melody. Question is it better to have the ride cymbal and then the filtered break, or is it better to have the filtered break, then it all breaks down to just ride cymbal and all those instruments, and then we go into the drop? So best way to test that is to just rearrange it and see how it sounds like that. So let me just cut all this bit, and I'll just put the rides there. And then I'm just going to paste all this bit here. So we start off with the filtered breaks. We've got that beautiful pad going on. We are going to need this riser here as well. Yes. And one thing you can do is just to make it have a bit more variety. Once in a while you can just duplicate the kick, for example. Stuff like that. And you can even do these little rolls, which are kind of cliche, but just for the sake of showing you, you can do this. Get a little bit of the kick, duplicate it. Alright, so it was a little bit off. Let me try that again. Duplicate the kick a load of times. Sounds like this. If you want to get clever, you can actually just copy bits of the, copy a bit of the amen break to go along with it. Here's a double kick, so just put that. Now the question is, do you delete that snare there? No, I'll just leave it where it is. Alright, let's see what we've got so far. Starting off with those filtered breaks. The white noise riser is supposed to be really subtle. Alright, maybe I'll just grab a little bit of the amen break to throw in there as a bit of an accent. So I'll put that in there. And what I'm going to do is EQ and put reverb on it. So I'll start off with, actually, first of all, let me just pitch it up. Turn it down, put the reverb on. And then take out the bottom end like this. Actually, one thing you can do is watch this, yeah? If you know how you've got the amen break here and you've got this envelopes button, click on that, and then down here you can choose clip, transposition, and then there's a blue line. And what you can do is, just like any other automation, you can click on it and put these points on it. So, and then at the end we're going to put another point on it and then make it turn down like that. And then you can transpose it down by anything. For example, an entire octave. You can also increase that effect by automating a filter or an EQ. So for example, this notch 4 of the EQ8, you can have it start up there, and then if we go into automation mode, number 4 frequency, have it turn down. So obviously that's too much. Have a load of delay on it. And actually the dry and wet of the delay can be automated to turn up as well. Like that. Right, so let's go from the start and see if this actually sounds good. We're starting off with the filtered breaks. It's all right. And I just heard in my head, I don't know if I really heard this or if it was just in my mind, I just heard this of a sort of a brass sound. So what I should definitely do is try that out while it's fresh in my mind. So I need a brass sound. That was exactly what it sounded like. So and then it was, so it's right there at the end. There it is. Got to be there. Oh, it needs to be a bit longer. Bleeding. Right, not that long, so it's got to be there. That's it. Know what I mean? Know what I might do? what we're going to do is, at the end of the first 16 bars, I don't know if you heard that, but I basically got rid of some of those kicks, and it just goes do-do-dum with like a little triple kick, like this. Alright, and then at the end of the second 16 bars, we're going to use that little amen fill that I put together, which goes like this. Maybe without the delay. Anyway. Needless to say, the second 16 bars is going to be very similar to the first one, but some of these instruments could come back, including the little trumpet that I just created here. Something that's not been used yet and might not be used at all is this. As I was doing before, I'm going to put the velocities of these extra notes down lower. Not that low. Anyway, thanks for sticking with me. So this is how you put together a liquid drum and bass tune. So for the people who've joined us fairly recently, let's do a little recap. So I actually started with this instrument that I'm messing with now, which was the Rhodes piano, and it's made in Contact, and it sounds like this. Then the next thing I did was I put together the sub bass, the first layer of sub bass, which was this one with the Vital synth. Sounds like this. And I did show you how to add a little wobble using the auto filter. It just moves a tiny bit. But after that, I think I added this pad, which was from the Echoes of Light sample pack. Absolutely beautiful sound. And then we went on to the drums, so I used a kick, a snare from Ghost Syndicate. Added this hi-hat loop. Added the amen break in. So that's basically how you make a liquid tune, a load of loops. After I'd made the after I'd put the pad down, it was sounding so lovely, I also decided to sort of strip back Contact, and it sounds like this. There's some lovely chords. So they should come back in the second 16 here. So if anyone's got any questions for me, feel free to put them in the chat. Or if you're watching this back at a later stage, then you can leave a comment. Just ask me anything about how I'm making this tune and why I'm doing certain things, and I will be more than happy to explain it to you. So it sounds like this. let me just try out the pad with a low pass filter on it. Actually, so I was thinking about having the pad wide open during the intro. Then here where it drops, we could turn on this EQ8 and it takes out all the top end of the pad. And the way how you do that, as I was showing you before, you just automate device on, which is this little button here. So you want to have it off most of the time, but then when it drops, you have it turn on. And the way you do that is grab the pencil tool and just make it turn on like that so the line goes up. And that means during the drop, a lot of the top end is going to be EQ'd out of that pad, and it's just a very subtle background thing then, you know? You could even have it turn off after the first 16 bars. So I was going on about this basic bright and how I'm not sure if it's going to get used. Well, you know, one thing we could try is just change the preset in contact. So I had it on Scarby Mark 1, but the other one was on a nicer one, and that one's called On the Road. So what I should do is, I could just literally drag this onto the other one. That's the lazy way of doing it. And then hold down Alt and put it there. Now this one has been changed to On the Road as well, and it sounds like this. Big up Suklal Music, long time man. How's it going? Hope you're having a great summer. Well, hope you had a great summer and having a good start to your autumn. And I want to just take a moment to thank the Grace Nation members, the people who support this channel. Misty was around before, and Suklal Music, and obviously Jason Story, who I think was the first ever Grace Nation member and a long-time supporter of the channel. So big up the Grace Nation members, and if anyone else wants to join, there is a join button directly underneath the video. And I'll really appreciate if anyone else joins the Grace Nation membership. Yeah, man, the last tune that you posted in the group was amazing. The one that you said you were going to send to a label. So, don't know when you joined us, Suklal, but it's been about an hour and 40 minutes that I've been making this tune. So we've got a marimba as the main melody. Beautiful. Oh, I've just noticed, I don't know why, but my camera's turned into a black square. Hopefully you can still hear me. Not exactly sure what's happened to my camera, people, but I think for the last 20 minutes it's gonna be faceless. Sorry about that. But anyway, as long as you can still see the screen and you can still hear the microphone, then it's all good. Alright, so we've got a little brass thing there. Going da-da. How about if it's got a little harmony layer? Could work, or it could sound terrible, but it's worth a try. I don't know. Something's up with my camera. I don't know if it ran out of battery, but it is plugged in, so don't know why it would do that. You know, it's only 20 minutes left, so it's not worth messing about with it. Does that actually sound in tune? Let's have a listen. Let's just solo the brass and see if it's playing the right notes. Yeah, I don't know. And then we go into the drop. And one unorthodox thing that I've never really put in a tune before is these ridiculously high 808 notes, which I quite like them, you know? It's like a happy accident. So what I'm going to do is get that white noise riser, put that there. This delay, I'm going to automate it. Again, the device should be on at the beginning and off here. Yeah, this is a rainy day type of tune. Let's see if this little amen fill works. Sort of, it's a bit quiet though. Suklal saying MTV is shutting down its music channels. I haven't watched it for a long time, but it's kind of sad, isn't it? It's like they've given up on music. They might as well just take the M out of their name and just call it TV. I mean, the main MTV channel has just been reality TV for the longest time. might ditch the brass from the intro and then you just hear it here in the second 16 bar section of the drop. Shout out E.E. Wilson in the building. So basically what we've done so far is made an extremely chilled out liquid tune. And I was thinking about adding the think break. So let's go into here. I'm just going to cheat because in this breaks for machine, I have them. Let me just tell you, this breaks for machine folder is from the days before the machine could even do time stretching. So I had to prepare some bits of breakbeat at the correct tempos. So here I have some think breaks at 175 BPM. But then they added time stretching, which meant that I was able to just bring in normal breakbeats into the machine. Let me know in the chat if any of you guys ever used the machine from Native Instruments. They screwed me over with that actually. I've got the Machine Mark 1 and it's obsolete now. It doesn't work with modern computers. Well, it does with Windows, but not on Mac. Thank you so much, Andrea. So just put in a couple of bits of think break together so that you don't have any of the vocal bit. And I'm just going to Command and J to consolidate that into one. And then I'm just going to drag it sideways so that it loops like this. Oops, need to turn on looping first. So you see that loop button there on the left? Click that. Now it will allow you to drag it sideways and it just loops it over and over again. So that's a little tip for you. If you want to get an audio clip and loop it, and for as long as you want, for as many bars as you want, you just turn on that little looping thing and then drag it sideways. Up to there. And then I'm going to put that into the drums folder. And then maybe ditch the amen from this section just to switch it up a bit. Now it sounds like this. And just like before, what I did is basically I put this onto beats and put this onto the little arrow pointing to the right with a line and then turn down this amount. And another thing you can do is move these warp markers around to improve the timing of the break. Obviously you need to be careful not to do it too much, otherwise it's just rigid as hell. Alright, let's listen to the difference between that section and this one. So this is with the amen break. And then this is with think break. And also it's good to sort of compare the volumes of the break. So the amen is only hitting up to -24. So it might be wise to put the think break to something like that. you know what? Instead of this amen bit here, I might bring in the little yuck, that thing. Put that there. Maybe even have that slightly louder, just. All right, let's just listen to the whole thing. Any questions? I'm here for another 6 minutes, so if anyone wants to ask me any questions about music production or about this tune or about anything else, ask away in the chat. And if you're watching this back at a later stage, feel free to leave a comment and ask me anything. Alright, so obviously that amen fill bit was a bit much there. What I'm going to do is, you see this amen here? It sounds good there, but it didn't sound good in the intro. So what I've done is I've duplicated it, and we're going to have one as the intro one, and delete these other two. And then we're going to have one as the sort of, at the end of each 16 of the main section, which is going to be louder. The one in the intro can be quieter. So I'll turn that down like that. And now it sounds like this. Anyway, let me just play it through. I'll stop waffling for a bit. Thank you, Kaylee. E.E. Wilson was asking what's my favourite song that I've made. I do think I'm progressing, so some of my recent Liquid ones, like that Solstice one that I started the stream with, and Side Quest, basically some of my best Liquid tunes ever were made this year, so I am progressing. You know what? Side Quest needs a release. But maybe I should do like you do, Suklal, and actually contact some labels. Because like putting stuff out yourself is cool. It's nice that you can do it very easily these days. But no one ever hears it if you put it out yourself. If you put it out with a label, they're going to help you spread it to the people. I have said before, I think I said to you on the Grace Nation call, that one video idea could be to make a little series about contacting labels and seeing how it is, you know. Send it out to like 20 labels. Document how many of them actually reply. Anyway, I was saying to you at the beginning of the stream that my brother DJ Fully Loaded is actually he's recorded a new Liquid mix and it's dropping in 2 minutes time. So what we all need to do is finish here and go over to DJ Fully Loaded's channel And I'll meet you in the chat there and we can continue the conversation. So Mark, if you're still watching, I'm not sure if you're able to post a link. This one's brand new, made on the stream. It's turned out alright. Perhaps I'll finish this, send it to some labels. Anyway, his channel's called DJ Fully Loaded DNB Mixes, as you can see in the chat there. So I'm going to finish in 2 minutes and I'll see everybody there in the chat. And I am absolutely starving, so I'm going to make some food while we listen to it. Yes, DJ Fully Loaded, I'll give you a copy of this. I just need to finish it off. But it's been a fun one. And literally, sometimes it's a bit daunting when it's like, I'm going to show you how to make a liquid drum and bass tune, and then it kind of feels like it could all go pear-shaped. But luckily it didn't, and it turned out pretty good. The only thing is my camera died. Alright, we're coming to an end now, so I'll see you all on DJ Fully Loaded's channel, and I'll see you back here this time next week for another stream.